After my house burned down, I discovered the most unexpected and heartbreaking truth about my son. Mark stood at the charred remains of what was once their family home, disbelief tightening its grip around his chest. The heavy scent of burnt wood lingered ominously in the air, the ashes beneath his boots a haunting reminder of everything they had lost. But it was more than just walls and possessions that had crumbled into dust. The fire had stripped away the fabric of their lives and left behind a barren unfamiliarity. He had spent years trying to provide the best for Jake: a steady job, college savings, a reliable home, even if it meant working long hours. Yet now, in this smoldering ruin, he felt like he had failed at something critical. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the debris, Mark's heart ached with guilt. He had drilled into Jake the importance of hard work, of pursuing stability, yet what had been left behind? He glanced into what used to be Jake's room, where burned posters adorned the walls like fading memories. An impulse surged within him, pulling him closer as he brushed aside remnants of charred furniture. Among the ashes, he discovered a box tucked away in a corner, a hidden treasure, perhaps. With trembling hands, he pried it open. Inside, he unearthed a collection of Jake's drawings and journals, scribbled thoughts that bore the weight of his son's heart. Each page told a story of a world Mark had never known, expressive sketches filled with swirling colors and compelling figures that seemed to leap off the page. His son was not just a quiet boy working through his teenage years. He was an artist teeming with a talent that had been silenced, like their voices amid the flames. The overwhelming realization lit a fire of shame inside Mark. How could he have focused on providing when he neglected to see the depths of Jake's struggle for identity? Mark closed his eyes, angry at himself. Was he a blind father, more occupied with hard realities than appreciating his son's passions? The weight of expectation hung heavy on both of them. As the days drifted past and the discussions of rebuilding their lives matured, he felt torn. Jake's whispered aspirations of following an artistic path clashed harshly against the hard truths of their precarious situation. The looming specter of instability loomed large, a constant reminder of his job's demands and their current homelessness. How could he allow his son to reach for something so uncertain? Before he had fully formed an answer to his fears, Mark attended a local community meeting. There, parents and neighbors spoke passionately about recovery and the future. The emphasis on art, creativity, and following dreams pierced through him, building a suffocating knot in his stomach. What would happen if Jake pursued art? Would he end up like Mark, stressed and struggling? It was a thought that churned furiously like a tempest in his mind. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The room buzzed with voices, but Mark felt muted, lost in the blur of conversation. He remained tethered to the uncertainty of his choices, torn between nurturing the dreams of a son he barely understood and safeguarding him from a world that had just proven itself to be cruel and unforgiving. Just as the meeting started to wind down, Mark glanced at Jake, who stood across the room, his eyes lit with passionate resolve. The look on his son's face sent a jolt through him, a mix of pride and impending dread swirling in Mark's guts. This was the moment. Would Jake speak up and declare his dreams? And if he did, what would it mean for their relationship? Could a desire for a son's authenticity tear apart the very notion of a stable future Mark had clung to? In that charged moment, the weight of the world pressed down on him, a silence stretching between them, echoing with unvoiced fears. How would Mark choose in this pivotal moment? As the shadows of uncertainty closed in around both of them, he realized that the choices they stood before might lead them not just through the ruins, but into the very complexities of love and understanding, and whether they could emerge from the ashes reborn or engulfed in chaos. The days following the community meeting blurred into a disarray of anxious moments and strained interactions. Mark found himself obsessively analyzing every conversation, every sidelong glance exchanged with Jake. The weight of unspoken words thickened the air between them, a wall of uncertainty that neither seemed willing to dismantle. Would they ever be able to speak the truth lying heavy on their hearts? Mark's routine was punctuated by odd sparks of revelation. Each day, while working late at the warehouse, he would catch sight of Jake's sketches on the dining table, bright, unrestrained expressions of a young man carving out a space for his dreams. Fragments of wonder amidst the desolation stirred something deep within Mark. It was a nagging recognition that perhaps he hadn't provided them with the stability he thought was paramount. One evening, after yet another tense dinner marked by unsteady silence, Mark took a deep breath and turned to Jake. "You know, I used to draw like that," he said softly. It was a risky admission, plunging into territory he hadn't traversed in years. "Just not as good as you." And life took over. Mark's heart raced, anticipating a reaction, expecting Jake to scoff, to dismiss this moment as though it were insignificant. But Jake merely nodded, his gaze softened, curiosity flickering in his eyes. "Really? You drew? What did you like to draw?" Mark felt the floodgates of nostalgia open. He remembered the anxiety of his youth, the weight of responsibility he had taken on far too early. "Mostly landscapes, and I painted a lot of sunsets. They made me feel free." Those words hung in the air like a forgotten memory, one that tied them together. Mark saw the gears turning in Jake's mind and questioned if he should have shared that fragment of himself. Could stepping through the door he had kept closed lead them both to a better understanding? Or would it inflate an idea that he wasn't ready to embrace, the idea that Jake could succeed against all odds? The following day, the local art supply store caught his eye. Driven by impulse, Mark stepped inside, the scent of fresh paint and paper almost intoxicating. Surrounded by vibrant canvases and stacks of unfinished stories, he felt a stirring conviction. There, he gathered a few supplies: a sketch pad, acrylics, brushes, with the promise that maybe it was time to re-engage with his own creativity. It was a small step toward reclaiming a part of himself he thought lost. But more importantly, it was a bridge he could offer Jake to bridge their worlds. When he returned home, Mark found Jake immersed in his sketching, oblivious to the outside world. A flicker of uncertainty washed over him. What if his own reconnecting with art only served to confuse Jake further? "Hey, I picked some things up today," Mark said, anxiety making his voice shake slightly. Jake lifted his head, wide-eyed, as Mark spilled the contents onto the table. "Dad, you actually bought paints?" Jake's voice was a blend of surprise and disbelief mingled with hope. "I thought maybe we could try painting together. I could teach you a few things if you'd like." A long silence followed, each heartbeat echoing in the distance. Jake looked at his father as if trying to gauge the sincerity behind the offer. It was a moment fraught with potential, perhaps the first step towards healing the painful rift forged by misunderstanding and unbridled expectation. Mark felt himself on the precipice of a larger leap, one that demanded trust, vulnerability, and an acceptance of the unknown. Would Jake accept this gesture, or would it further complicate the fragile thread between them? As he awaited Jake's response, the tremors of doubt settled deeply within him, knowing they stood not only on the verge of artistic discovery, but also of redefining their relationship altogether. He held his breath, anxious for his son's next move, wondering if they could ignite something new amidst the ashes of everything they had lost. What would it mean for both of them if they stepped into this unknown realm together? The silence was electric, binding their fates closer than either had ever anticipated. The moment stretched, taut with anticipation, as Jake processed his father's proposition. Mark's heartbeat thundered in his ears, a disconcerting reminder of the stakes involved. In that silence, with walls closing in, he suddenly sensed the enormity of his offer, not just to paint, but to acknowledge their shared distance and the unspoken doubts pulling them apart. Jake's expression shifted, flickering between skepticism and cautious excitement. "I don't know, Dad. What if I'm just not good enough?" His voice trembled at the edges, reflecting a deeper fear that mirrored Mark's own. Mark sensed a pivotal moment unwinding before his son was grappling with the same insecurities he himself had known. They were two artists standing on the precipice of creation, yet mired in the debris of past failures and unmet expectations. It's not about being good enough, Jake. It's about expressing yourself, whatever that looks like. It's about freedom. A trace of hesitation lingered in Jake's eyes, but something within him shifted. After what felt like an eternity, he nodded slowly. Okay, I guess it could be fun. Relief washed over Mark, flooding him with warmth, a rare sensation in the landscape of their strained relationship. They gathered their supplies, hesitant at first, then tumbling into a rhythm as colors splashed onto the canvas, vibrant and uncontrolled. The air felt different now, infused with the lively energy of expression. As strokes of paint met canvas, Mark sensed a release. It ignited a spark deep within, resurrecting dormant memories of joy and spontaneity. For the first time in years, he rediscovered the thrill of creation. Each deliberate stroke ushered forth a reassessment of his life's trajectory. He relayed tales through his brush, sharing colors entwined with memories of sunsets, landscapes, hopes long buried under years of suffocating routine. But in the midst of this cathartic release, themes of regret began to surface. Why had he brushed his passion aside so readily? Why had he imposed his fears onto his son, shackling Jake with expectations he had never earned? Jake marveled at his father each time he stepped back to scrutinize their work. "I didn't know you had this in you," he whispered, surprise dancing through his voice, but the words beckoned Mark to confront his shame. For so long, he had cloaked himself in a suit of responsibility, denying acknowledgement of his own artistic spirit. "Neither did I," Mark admitted, meeting Jake's inquisitive eyes. "But it's time I stop hiding." The air around them turned electric, as if a current of unwritten possibilities surged between them. They were no longer confined by unacknowledged fears, but freed by the simple act of creation, crafting a dialogue more vibrant than spoken words ever could be. As the night deepened and the canvases slowly began to fill, Mark's mental state flickered, fascination blended with an unsettling realization. If he could allow the floodgates of creativity to pour into his life once more, what else might surface? What other truths about himself and Jake lay waiting to be explored? In a way, this was more than just an evening of painting. It was the beginnings of healing, layered with complications. Suddenly, an uneasy question arose. How deep must they delve into the murky waters of their emotions to find the real truth? Tension coiled within Mark as he processed the layers of possibility before him. What consequences would unfold if they searched too deep, ventured too far? The art drew Jake in, but it also beckoned Mark to confront the parts of his past he'd suppressed. He glanced at Jake, whose focus was consumed by the canvas. The promise of exploration filled the air, both thrilling and alarming, leaving Mark wondering where this journey would lead them. What hidden truths awaited them just beneath the surface? With each color that flowed, they stood at the edge of something larger than a simple painting. The question loomed, would they unravel the profound complexities binding them together or reinforce the chasm forever lingering between? Father and son? Each brushstroke became a question, a probe into the dense fog that had shrouded Mark and Jake's relationship for so long. Colors splattered on the canvas, yet they also seeped into the fabric of their dialogue, a fluid exchange almost palpable in the air between them. Mark couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning, a prelude to a deeper exploration he hadn't anticipated. As the minutes unfolded into hours, the loud silence of the room was filled with splashes of paint, transforming their canvases slowly, unfurling the unacknowledged for both of them. Yet uncertainty crackled. With each color they added, the weight felt heavier. Mark sensed Jake's uncertainty lingering beneath the exuberance, the bravado of youth battling with the raw vulnerability of sharing a hidden part of himself, the fear of not measuring up to a legacy. Mark hesitated, reflecting on what had led them to this point. Hadn't he spent his life avoiding confrontation with his own insecurities? Why then, now, Did he want to plunge into emotional depths with his son? Questions gnawed at him like unwanted house guests. He turned to Jake, who was intensely focused on his canvas, lost in a world of color and possibility, a stark contrast to the web of worry that clouded Mark's thoughts. Jake, the words stumbled out of Mark's mouth, catching him off guard. The gravity of what he was about to say felt immense. What do you feel when you paint? Jake's brush paused midair, suspended in thought. The vibrant background of orange and yellow shimmered like a sunlit horizon. After an awkward pause, he replied cautiously, "It's like, I don't know. I feel like I can be anyone. Like I can escape for a while." Mark felt a profound shift within him as he pondered those words. Escape. Wasn't he longing for the same thing? The containment of life's expectations had finally drawn cracks in his facade. And what do you escape from, exactly? The question lingered in the air, filled with a sudden gravity that made Jake squirm. You know everything. School friends. You. The honest, unvarnished admission hung between them, raw and exposed. Mark's heart sank momentarily. Had his own fears impacted Jake's choices, constraining him in a way he never intended? He wiped the sweat from his brow, swallowing the wave of guilt that threatened to sweep him under. I never wanted you to feel that way, he said softly, guilt swimming in his words. I thought my expectations were I thought I was helping. Jake's gaze fell, a vortex of conflict swirling in his eyes. Helping is one thing, Dad, but pushing me to be something I'm not is different. With those words, the chasm named misunderstanding loomed larger. Mark recognized the confrontation they were having. It felt like standing at the edge of a precipice, looking down into turbulent waters, uncertain of what awaited. He pressed on, scrambling for clarity amidst the tumult. Maybe we could learn together? Let go of what we think we should be? Jake's softened demeanor hinted at intrigue. What do you mean? Mark contemplated the transformation before him, recognizing a newfound bond teetering on the edge of something profound. What if we explored a genuine version of ourselves through this painting? Unrestricted, unbothered by conventions or past expectations. A flicker of realization crossed Jake's face. Was their tentative journey toward self-discovery close to becoming something transformative? Yet, the weight of their revelations threatened to swallow them whole. Are you ready for that? Mark knew the stakes were high. As much as he wanted to free Jake from expectations, would he too be willing to confront the looming darkness hidden in the corners of his own mind? Jake seemed to sense the gravity of the moment. With their brushes poised over their canvases, the two were at a crossroads, both endearing and terrifying. As they ventured further into uncharted waters, Mark realized they might just unearth what lay beneath the surface: his own buried dreams, his son's hidden fears, and the reconciliation they both desperately needed. Together then? Jake's voice was tinged with hesitant hope. Yes, together. And yet, a gnawing thought struck Mark as he dipped his brush into the dark blue paint. What might they uncover along the way that could unravel everything they thought they knew about each other? With their hearts racing, they both felt it, the edges of vulnerability beckoning them to explore deeper, to peel back the layers and confront whatever truths were gathering dust. As the paint blended on the canvas, Mark sensed they were treading on the precipice of a greater understanding, even as the shadows loomed ominously in the background. But the pressing question remained: would the revelations strengthen their bond, or would they uncover painful realities that forever changed their perspective of one another? Mark stood at the canvas, the cool blue paint reflecting the turmoil brewing within him. The hesitation that had affirmed his connection with Jake now felt like a chasm, an abyss he was preparing to leap into, blindfolded. His instinct screamed to tread lightly, but the feeling of synergy with his son urged him to push forward into the unsettling unknown. His brush hovered over the canvas, a mere inch away from the palette. What would happen if he embraced the fun mixture of colors? What if he embraced the chaos turning into something beautiful? This wasn't just a simple act of creation. It was a manifestation of dialogue, a bridge into the depths of their mutual fears and unmet aspirations. Let us try something different, Mark said, breaking the silence, surprising even himself. Jake raised an eyebrow, curiosity replacing anxiety. What do you mean? What if we set rules aside? No plans, no expectations, just paint what we feel? Mark's heart raced at the notion. It was a drastic shift from the well-structured life he'd always imposed, one that had likely stifled Jake's own voice. Jake pondered for a moment. You mean like no specific idea? Just whatever flows.
Exactly.
We're painting for ourselves, without worries or concerns about what it's supposed to be. Mark felt something shift inside him. The rigid walls around his expectations began to falter. It was terrifying and liberating all at once. All right, Jake replied cautiously, but there was a spark in his eyes, one that urged Mark to trust the moment. As they dipped their brushes into the roaring hues of orange and teal, the act of creation morphed into an unconscious exploration, a tactile confrontation with their hidden complexities. Mark painted wildly, striking against the canvas, releasing pent-up emotions with each bold stroke. As the colors blended chaotically, it mirrored the struggle they were both undergoing, a fight, a dance, a search for clarity buried deep within heavy repressed pressure. But with each passing moment, Mark sensed the heat of vulnerability spreading across his skin, igniting a spark of fear and excitement. The realization struck him like a lightning bolt. Just as he intended to liberate Jake from expectations, he was confronting all the molded expectations he had built around himself. What are we really escaping from? Mark whispered, more to himself than to Jake. What do you mean? Jake's brush paused again, clearly intrigued. Mark halted, his thoughts stirring. I think I've been running away from who I truly am, just like you feel you're running away from me. Jake's brows furrowed for a moment, processing this. So, it's not just me? You're scared too? Mark swallowed hard. Such honesty felt both refreshing and terrifying. I am. I've always felt I had to be this perfect version of myself, always strong, always right. But what if that's not who I really am? Jake examined his father, the complex weave of emotions reflected in their painted canvases, which had transformed from disarray to an extraordinary mix of colors. Maybe it's okay to not be perfect. Maybe we can just be us? Mark nodded, feeling the weight of Jake's words begin to lift some of the burdens that had pressed upon him for so long. The realization that they were both evolving together anchored him. The fragile connection intertwining with raw honesty may lead them to a harmonious understanding. But just as a surge of connection brought them closer, another murmur of dread wormed its way into Mark's thoughts. What if all these new realizations lay bare deeper grievances that neither of them was ready to face? Yeah, it could be that simple, Mark ventured, gauging the gravity of his admission. Then, he hesitated. But what if our real selves aren't what we expected? The silence that followed felt heavier than before. The question lingered in the serene air like an uneasy truth waiting to be confronted, each brushstroke on their canvases now a precursor to uncertainties ahead. Jake's grip tightened on his brush, determination sparking in his eyes. Then, maybe we have to face it, together. As the colors on their canvases mixed, filling the void around them, Mark felt a strange mix of dread and exhilaration, a potent concoction reminding him that the journey to authenticity was never straightforward. They were painting not just pictures, but an intricate map of self-discovery, and the path ahead was bound to reveal the startling depths of both love and pain. The moment was here, yet with every brushstroke, the environment shifted. Mark knew this was merely the surface. Their exploration was just beginning. Would they emerge closer, or would the weight of discovery shatter everything they believed they knew? Are you ready? He asked, a shaky whisper lifting above the tension. I am, Jake replied, his voice steady, but the underlying uncertainties lingered like a thief in the night, waiting for the opportune moment to strike. As they leaned back to take in their tempestuous creation, Mark's heart quickened. Whatever lay beyond their burgeoning connection, one truth remained. The real unraveling was yet to come. What awaited them in the depths of their revelations could either bind them together or tear them apart forever. The brush danced across the canvas as if alive, drawing lines between the chaos and clarity Mark sought. Each movement felt instinctual, a push against the ingrained order he had always imposed on himself. He could sense Jake next to him, the air thick with both competition and camaraderie, each swath of paint they applied echoing their shared struggles. As colors bled into one another, Mark found a strange comfort in the disorder, a far cry from the meticulously controlled life he had chosen to live. "Do you ever think about what makes us who we are?" Jake ventured, breaking Mark's focus for a moment. His son, in that simple question, challenged everything Mark had ever accepted as truth about self-identity. Was he no longer just a father? Or was every role he played a fragment of a larger puzzle he'd yet to understand? "I do," Mark replied, pausing to let the brush sit in a new hue that bubbled up within himself, a shade of uncertainty mingling with yearning. "I think we get so caught up in expectations and what others want us to be that we forget to explore what we genuinely want." Jake nodded, seemingly captivated. "So, it's like we're all just masking who we are?"
Exactly.
"I think I've been trying to maintain a facade of what a good father should be, at the expense of being honest with you. And maybe even with myself." The vulnerability of that admission swept over him like cold water, awakening a raw edge beneath his skin. He dipped his brush anew, a vivid crimson splashing onto the canvas, an outward expression of the conflict rising from within him. The intense color represented the battle he waged against the expectations he bundled tightly around his identity. Mark was no longer just painting. He was deliberately laying bare his struggle, his need for authenticity. "You know, I never meant to put pressure on you," Mark continued, voice dropping to a serious tone. "I've always associated love with control. I thought I was doing what was best by having everything planned, but maybe I was just trying to avoid making the same mistakes my own father made." Jake's expression softened, confusion lifting to reveal understanding. "You just wanted to protect me." "Right," Mark confirmed, but an ache began to unravel within him. "The irony isn't lost on me. In trying to keep you safe, I've stifled you, and I unknowingly caged myself. That's the truth I'm learning. Maybe we should let go of what we think is best," Jake suggested. The maturity in his voice struck Mark almost like a revelation itself. "Let us just be real." This exchange hung thick in the air, a former gulf transformed into a path laden with possibilities. With each dip of their brushes, a blend of colors seemed to pulse with hidden energy, echoing the nuances of their emotional tapestry. Mark had always seen himself as a structured individual, a conveyor of lessons learned rather than a participant in the unpredictable narrative of life. Yet here he was, in a realm stripped of rules, an artist in his own right. "Let us make it a pact," Mark said suddenly, a determined resolve crystallizing within him. "We'll uncover who we really are together. No fear.
No expectations."
The commitment felt foreign yet exhilarating, as if he were stepping onto foreign soil with each stroke on the canvas. Jake's eyes widened with renewed zeal. "Yeah, and we can share everything, the good, the bad, all of it." His enthusiasm inflamed the atmosphere, sparking electricity between them. Mark barely managed to hold back a grin. This was new territory, soaked in the poignant blend of uncertainty and elation. Yet the deeper they ventured into the realm of their emotions, the more he felt the shadows of his past creeping into the light. How would their commitment to authenticity withstand the unveiled truths of their histories, the lessons that were sometimes harsh and overwhelming? As the afternoon light faded into a dusky glow, Mark's heart raced at the enormity of their agreement. While they thickened the paint's texture to reflect the complexity of their intentions, he couldn't shake the feeling that as much as they were painting, they were also unearthing untruths that could threaten to unmoor them. His thoughts spiraled as he delivered one final stroke, the colors intertwining into a metaphoric landscape. But what if the truth changes everything we thought we knew about each other? The question lingered between them, glimmering like a dark jewel in the waning light. Could they withstand the weight of their individual revelations? Would their bond endure the pressure of honesty, or would it splinter under the weight of long-buried secrets? This time, as Jake gripped his brush with renewed tenacity, the answer seemed both inevitable and terrifying. The real test lay not in the colors that adorned their canvas, but rather in the truths yet to be uncovered, truths that threatened everything they believed about themselves and each other. Mark took a deep breath, knowing that stepping into the unknown could either bind them closer or expose fractures too painful to mend. What awaited them might redefine everything they stood for. The morning light filtered into the studio, illuminating the canvas that now bore the chaotic expression of their emotional journey. Mark stared at the vibrant swirls and aggressive brushstrokes, each a confrontation of unresolved feelings. The intensity of yesterday's revelations hung over him, a tangible weight mixed with an undercurrent of anticipation. Jake was already bustling about, pulling out old newspapers and magazines, asking with childlike curiosity, "Can we use these for collage?" It was practical, a way to add texture, but Mark sensed the potential of his son's ideas stretched beyond the physical. He recognized it as an opportunity for them to delve deeper, to peel back layers of their identities they had kept hidden. "Absolutely," Mark said, surprised by a sudden surge of enthusiasm. "Let us tell a story with them." As they began tearing out clippings, something shifted within Mark, an intuitive awareness sparking deep down. The initial rush of excitement ebbed into something more profound. They were not merely creating art. They were transcribing their shared truths, even the painful ones, onto the canvas. Each torn piece symbolized a memory, a fragment of who they were yet to be uncovered. "Hey, look at this," Jake called out, holding up a page featuring a headline about overcoming adversity. "This could fit, right?" The word overcoming lodged in Mark's mind. Was he overcoming something? Or was he avoiding it? He set aside the collage piece and stared at Jake, realizing the reflections of his own childhood behind those bright eyes. "You know," he started slowly, "it's amazing how much we hold on to. Sometimes we drag our past along without even realizing it." Jake's brow furrowed in concentration. "Like all those times you wanted to stay in control?" "Exactly." Mark can feel an emotional tide rising, an urge to confess his own missteps. "I've spent a lot of time trying to keep everything in line, my hopes for you especially. But now I see how important it is to let loose, to embrace the mess." The truth sparked a daring resolve. Mark needed to confront the shadow of his own father, not merely recount a painful history, but reclaim the narrative. "You're right, Jake. We've been wearing masks. I want us to face our truth. It's crucial." As they spread glue across the canvas, the act transformed into a ritual of release. Mark sifted through memories like gathering firewood for a fire that needed igniting. He recalled his father's harsh expectations, life lessons delivered without compassion. Each negative experience lingered, quietly festering until he unintentionally mirrored those patterns with Jake. "Do you think it's ever too late to change?" Mark asked, voice dripping with an unexpected vulnerability. Jake paused, deep in thought. "I think it just takes courage," he replied, lighter and bolder than before. "You're already being brave. So, should I be brave too?" Mark regarded his son, witnessing a shift in their dynamic. The generational weight pressed down on him, yet his heart lightened. If ignorance had created a rift, it now felt filled with the potential for healing. "Perhaps we both have some old stories to rewrite," Mark suggested, voice tremulous yet filled with determination. Together, they could weave new patterns that embraced vulnerability over control. "But what if we can't?" The hint of uncertainty in Jake's question pulled at Mark's heart. He exhaled slowly, piecing together what honesty demanded of him. It was essential to allow the unease to settle, acknowledging it would not solve every question, but it could create space for a more profound understanding. "Then we'll keep trying, Jake." Honestly, simply trying is an act of courage. It's enough for now. With a newfound understanding, Mark watched as layers of magazine cutouts began to cover the canvas. It became an embodiment of their shared struggle and promise. Yet glimmers of concern flickered beneath surfaces, the unspoken fears stemming from a father's concern mixed with the son's budding independence gnawed at the edges of his resolve. "What if digging deeper shows us things we don't want to see?" Mark questioned in a quieter tone. As Jake tucked a hand-drawn heart beneath an image of a defiant child, he turned to face Mark, resolute. Then let us be brave enough to handle it together. The moments stretched, a quiet understanding engulfed them. They stood poised on the brink of revelations both terrifying and exhilarating. As the canvas began to reflect their complexities, Mark grappled with the notion, could he truly face the layers of his past while allowing Jake to craft his identity free from the restraints of expectation? Just then, the door creaked open. An unexpected visitor entered, a connection from a past Mark had tried to suppress. The intrusion blurred the lines of their burgeoning intimacy. Jake's curious gaze flickered nervously.
Who was that?
He asked, a mix of apprehension tinging his voice. Mark turned to see a figure he thought he had successfully kept at bay, one who might expose even more unsettling truths. The air thickened. Uncertainty coiled around him once again. His heart drummed against his chest, and he wondered at the intersections fate had weaved into their lives. Could they face this intrusion together, or would it pull them apart? Mark's heart raced as the doorway framed a face he hadn't seen in years, his estranged brother, Paul. The silence stretched thin, taut like a drawn bowstring. Paul's expression was a blend of hesitation and unresolved conflict, as if he, too, wrestled with the weight of their shared past. Mark felt a flush of fear mixed with a deep-seated anger suffuse his body. "What are you doing here?" Mark managed to choke out, the question loaded with memories uncontrolled and unresolved. His thoughts spun in a kaleidoscope of emotions: betrayal, anger, and a flicker of curiosity hidden beneath the resentment. Jake shifted beside him, glancing between the two adult men. The innocence in his eyes was palpable, a reminder of the purity that so often came between adult grudges. "I came to talk," Paul replied, his voice sturdy but low. "I know it's been a while, but there are things I need to say." Mark couldn't bear the sight of his brother stepping back into his world, especially with Jake watching. The sudden tension in the studio was unsettling. It dragged the lightness of their earlier moment down into murky depths fraught with unspoken baggage. "I don't know if there's anything left to say that we Haven T already hashed out 100 times, Mark retorted, fighting to keep composure. The emotion felt jagged and raw, a weary defense against reliving years of hurt. Jake, ever perceptive, chimed in with a boldness that startled Mark. "Maybe you can tell each other about those things you've been hiding? Like the art we're working on." The suggestion hung in the air, innocent yet confrontational, a catalyst for deeper introspection Mark hadn't anticipated.
Art?
Paul's brow furrowed, as if the words stirred something dormant within him. "What are you guys working on?" This question forced Mark into a decision. Did he want to allow his brother into their creative space, especially with the emotional weight they were unpacking? The canvas behind him seemed to pulse, a stark reminder of his commitment to facing truths, not just with Jake, but potentially with Paul as well. "This," Mark began cautiously, gesturing at the chaotic collage. "It's about confronting our past, our truths." Paul stepped closer, eyes scanning the layered images and jagged edges. An unexpected wave of vulnerability washed over him. "I wish I could have done that with you back then." Mark wrestled with the flicker of pain at Paul's admission, feeling the tremors of grief for lost brotherhood. It seemed insincere at first, but he felt a shred of curiosity stir. Could they truly rewrite their story? "Do you even know what you're asking for?" Mark shot back, the voice inside nagging at him to protect the fragile progress he had made with Jake. Paul took a breath, his face closing in softening determination. "No, I don't. But I know I want to." "I was wrong, Mark. I made mistakes." Jake's eyes, filled with hope, danced between the two adults. It was then Mark realized that the conversation had shifted, not just an exploration of their history, but a chance for something new to emerge. Maybe everyone needs a second chance, Mark pondered aloud, struck by the possibility. Or a first, Paul countered, his voice barely above a whisper, but underlined with sincerity. The air crackled with a tension that pressed against Mark's chest. He felt the walls of his emotional defenses buckle. Could vulnerability really foster understanding, or were they merely setting themselves up for another disappointment? Deep down, he clung to the hope that with every layer of translucent paper being added to the canvas, he could rebuild connections, redefining his view of the world, including the fractured bond of brotherhood. "Then let us do this," Mark finally said, a fragile hope creeping into his resolve. "Let us face it all." Jake grinned, sensing the momentum swinging towards collaboration. As Paul stepped forward, Mark knew they each held a piece of history that could foster untold growth. But as they began to lay down words on paper, uncertain shadows whispered of consequences yet unseen. Mark glanced over at Jake. A silent question in his mind. Was this the right move, or a risky detour into darkness? The realization that they were all truly connected tightened a knot in his stomach. Would this offer them the release they sought, or weave them into a more complicated web? The door of possibilities swung open wide before them, and the trepidation settled thick in the air. Each moment teased at something unresolved. Could this dusting off of the past truly lead to a brighter future? Just then, Mark's phone buzzed, pulling him back to reality. He checked the screen to find a message from an unknown number. "We're watching. Don't make any wrong moves." His pulse quickened anew. The specter of his old life loomed larger than he had anticipated, threatening to eclipse the fragile new ground they had begun to tread together. Mark's fingers trembled as he stared at the ominous message. The shadow of anxiety curled around his thoughts like smoke, and he felt a rush of adrenaline flood his system. Had his move towards reconciliation stirred up more than just familial complications? The weight of his ambition to forge a new path not only for himself, but also for Jake, now felt burdened by unseen forces. He disengaged from the moment, redirecting his attention to the canvas that lay before them, a testament to his commitment to navigating the past. "Let us keep going," he said, forcing a tone of normalcy. Jake's smile reassured him, but a flicker of doubt danced in the back of his mind. It was loud, insistent, reminding him that the initiative to rebuild was much more daunting than anticipated. Paul shifted position, his gaze not resting on the canvas, but lingering on Mark. The sincerity in his brother's eyes was a new development, one Mark hadn't expected. "What do we do with this?" he asked, gesturing to the chaotic colors and fragmented shapes they'd begun to create together. His voice was softer, more vulnerable now. "It's about unearthing our truths, isn't it?" Jake piped up, his youthful conviction cutting through the tension in the room. "We can talk about the things that hurt. That's how we make the art work." Mark marveled at Jake's innocence, the way he freely saw connection where Mark had only seen division. Approaching the canvas, he picked up a brush and dipped it into a bold shade of crimson, the color of buried anger and eroded trust. He hesitated, poised on the brink of making a mark that could either heal or inflict new wounds. "Before we dive in, let us lay out our intentions," he suggested, his inner voice pushing him toward a more structured path. "What are we aiming for, brother?" The word brother tasted foreign in his mouth, yet it felt oddly liberating to utter it aloud. Paul inhaled deeply, weighing the significance of the moment. "To understand each other. I don't want to rewrite history. I just want to own my part of it." And maybe he trailed off, then turned to Jake. "And maybe to show you both that change is possible." Mark studied his brother's face for any sign of inauthenticity, but all he saw was a quiet determination mirrored in Paul's eyes. For the first time, his brother seemed less like a rival and more like a fellow traveler on this rocky terrain of family and forgiveness. With unexpected resolve, Mark pressed the brush onto the canvas. He started to create dark, swirling shapes around a central point representing a knot of conflict. "This chaos, it feels like us. Spiderwebs of hurt that have held us back, but also a potential for transformation." Jake picked up another brush, ready to join, pressing bright colors alongside Mark's dark strokes. "I like it. It's all messy and complicated, but it looks cool. That's how we can be together." Their collaboration began to unfold before them, each layer thickening as colors collided, inevitably revealing a larger picture. Mark felt a change within as the act of creation began to lighten his anchor of resentment. He could feel vulnerability seeping into the fabric of their shared masterpiece, entwining their stories, both painful and profound, and yet, the sting of the message loomed over him. The nagging feeling of surveillance haunted his thoughts, juxtaposing the burgeoning hope that intertwined with reconciliation. Just as he began to embrace the possibility for healing, the specter of a threat persisted, clouding their collaborative space. Paul, sensing the shift, turned serious. "What's bothering you, Mark? You've gone quiet." Mark shifted his weight, the turmoil bubbling beneath his skin. "I got a message. Someone's watching us." His breath caught as he spoke, words spilling out like confessions. "It's like our past isn't done with us yet." Jake tilted his head, eyes widening in disbelief. "That's not fair. We're trying to do something good here." Paul's expression hardened, a vision of seriousness taking over his features. "Then we need to address it. Together. It isn't just about the art
Anymore, is it?
It's about our safety too." A resonance of truth echoed in the air, compelling Mark to confront not only the fractures in his family, but the specters from his past. Could they face down whatever was watching and continue their quest for understanding? As they breathed in the uncertainty together, a new tension formed, a resolve to stand united against the unknown while still reaching for personal reconciliation. Mark could sense the fragile thread of hope threading through fear, weaving them closer under pressure. He turned back to the chaotic masterpiece blossoming on the canvas, a symbol of the journey ahead. They were no longer just brothers from a fractured past. They were now three individuals with the shared goal of transformation. "Let us finish this," Mark declared, feeling a newfound strength surge through him. "And let us be ready to face whatever comes next." But even as he tried to bury the worries beneath strokes of color, he couldn't shake the chilling certainty that something nefarious lay just beyond their fragile circle. What would happen if the past they sought to redefine collided with the present they were desperately trying to protect? And could they find the resilience to confront both? Mark stood before the finished canvas, his heart swelling with a mixture of pride and trepidation. What had started as a chaotic reflection of familial rifts had transformed into a vibrant tapestry of shared truths and reconciliations. The colors danced in harmony, each stroke representing a moment of vulnerability, another step taken away from the shadows of their past and toward a more authentic future. Jake leaned in, a broad smile lighting up his face as he admired their masterpiece. "Look at what we created, Dad. It feels alive." There was an innocence in his voice, a sense of achievement that made Mark's heart swell. This was the moment he had yearned for, the confirmation that their bond was still salvageable, even amidst the wreckage of their previous misunderstandings. Paul sidled up beside them, his eyes scanning the chaotic but beautiful representation of their journey. "You too have something here, an expression of hope and resilience, as tangled as it may seem," he said, genuine admiration transcending the years of unresolved issues. For the first time, Mark felt a seed of acceptance grow between him and Paul, a sense that they were moving forward rather than being dragged backward into old grievances. "Maybe we should hang this somewhere," Jake suggested, his enthusiasm contagious. The suggestion sparked a warmth within Mark. Here they were, each a piece of a greater whole, creating not just art but a legacy of healing, one brushstroke at a time. It dawned on Mark. This wasn't merely a redefinition of their familial relationships. It was a demonstration of how personal truths could emerge from past misfortunes. He realized that despite the message, the aftermath of uncertainty lingering in the background, they had navigated through their emotional terrains together, transformed and uplifted. Mark's heart felt lighter, unshackling burdens he had carried for so long. "Let us take a moment. All of us," Mark suggested, his voice firm but warm.
"To really cherish this."
"We've each sacrificed, struggled, and confronted ourselves. This canvas is our testament on an individual level and as a family." As they gathered together, Mark searched their faces, feeling comforted by the quiet understanding that enveloped them. It was evident that confronting vulnerability fostered deeper bonds, a truth he had failed to grasp before. With a swell of resolve, he took a deep breath and said, "I want to confess something. In my pursuit of a stable life, I lost sight of my own dreams, and by extension, I unintentionally put pressure on you, Jake. The expectations I placed upon you were not rooted in love, but fear. I'm sorry for that. Jake nodded, his eyes glimmering with empathy. I guess I don't have to be everything you wanted. I can just be me, right? The simplicity of Jake's statement struck a chord deep within Mark, a resonance as old as their struggles, but new in its clarity. Absolutely, Paul chimed in. Let us redefine what family means. Let us be open. Let us listen. Let us create without fear. We can redefine our narratives together. Mark felt a tide of emotions swell within him, the kind of catharsis born out of honesty and recognition. For the first time since the fire, he could see the path ahead carved out, not only a personal triumph, but a familial renewal that pulsed with promise. In that moment, he understood that confronting the looming threat, the message that had flicked terror into his cautious heart, would only be possible if they all faced it together. As the three of them began to clean up their painting supplies, Mark made a promise to himself he would protect this newfound bond. Whatever lay ahead, whatever trials awaited them, he now had the tools to nurture both his son's aspirations and his brother's resolution while remaining sensitive to his own identity. Let us take this canvas and hang it where everyone can see it, Mark declared. Newfound confidence echoed in his voice. This will be a daily reminder for us. We are capable of transformation, reconstruction, and reinvention. And whenever challenges arise, we will face them as a family. The moment hung in the air, filled with palpable excitement and unsteady anticipation. Mark nodded to his family, his brother, his son, no longer strangers bound by old grievances, but partners in evolving stories. They ventured toward the door together, step by step, united, ready to face the world. The message in his pocket buzzed quietly once again. Instead of fear chaining him, Mark felt invincible, strengthened by the revelations they had uncovered together. He would not let it define them. They had conquered their pasts to step boldly into their futures. Together, it was time to embrace the unknown. This was the beginning of a new chapter, one marked not by despair, but by unity and the promise of an authentic journey together. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. You need to subscribe now. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.